We'll get stuck into the new EFL season for you very shortly, but we're going to start this afternoon with transfer news. So much going on, but there is one player dominating the agenda at the moment. It's Alexander Isak, of course. Liverpool having that bid rejected yesterday, around £110 million. Will they come back with another offer? Isak not with the Newcastle squad in South Korea at the moment. He's been training on his own at his old club, Real Sociedad in Spain, but is due back at the club on Monday. Will we have movement by then? Let's see what the guests make of this. Lots of stories to come to, but I want to focus on Isak for now, Clinton. I mean, Liverpool have already spent the best part of £300 million this summer. If they get Isak as well, Sky Bet, by the way, have him odds on to move before the deadline. Does he guarantee them another league title?
I thought before they got Isak, they were guaranteed another league title. I think the signings they've done have been very, very, very good. I think we saw the job Arne Slot done last season. It was a fantastic job. But I think getting Isak, that tips them. They're favourites anyway, but even more so, you might as well give them the trophy like that. That's my opinion. It might not be everyone's opinion. It's not going to be everyone's in the Premier League and the teams that are fighting for it. But I think Isak, he's the real deal, Jules. He's got all the ability. It won't take him time because he's played in the Premier League for many seasons and delivered. He had an outstanding season last season for Newcastle. Newcastle would be devastated if they lost a player of that calibre. But for me, he's the real deal. He's the complete centre-forward. He can do everything. I think he's one of the best around in the world. That's a great finish. He give the ball away. He scores all kinds of different goals. His movement's good. This is a header that comes to him at the back post. Really good finish. And I like him. I think Liverpool would be outstanding. It'll improve Liverpool. And he's an outstanding player, but Newcastle will miss him if the deal goes ahead. 27 goals in all competitions last season, Joby, including, of course, at Wembley against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final. Newcastle value him at 150 million. The first bid was 110. 150 million pounds. He's clearly very good. Is he worth that?
Oh, well, to Newcastle clearly is, Jules. I mean, you look at the importance with those goals and probably without them, do they do what they did last year and get themselves into the Champions League? So they're in a really strong position, you know, in terms of the time he's got left on his contract. And, you know, he's as important to them as they say he is. And he's worth what they say he is because they're the ones with the power at the moment. So, listen, it's an awful lot of money, isn't it? £150 million. That would make him one of the most expensive players ever. But like Clinton said, for me, if you look in world football, is there a more complete number 9? And I think the way that Liverpool play as well, you know, we saw with Diaz having to drop in at times last year and being that link player as well, he can go in behind. I don't think they're quite going to get to 150, but clearly that's their starting point, and they can be really, really bullish with that figure.
I'm sure the Evertonian on the panel is delighted to see the news of Isak arriving at Anfield soon. I mean, Joby said that making one of the biggest signings of all time. I think he'd be behind Neymar and Mbappe. He'd be third on the all-time transfer list. I mean, do you put him potentially, given he's still mid-20s, in that bracket?
I think that's the thing, the fact that he's still mid-20s, he can still get even better. I think the only downside, if there is a downside, is the injury record. But in terms of, you know, the player that he is, exactly the same as what the boys have said, he is the complete forward, isn't he? He's got everything about him. Obviously, his goals, we saw some of them there, his link play, the way that he can dribble past players, his vision, his awareness, he can be that presence, if you like. So he does have everything. So you can understand why Newcastle and Eddie Howe is desperate to keep hold of him, because I feel a bit sorry for Newcastle, because there was such a feel-good factor, wasn't there, around the club last season in terms of they won the trophy, and you thought if they can keep hold of their key players, Isak being one of them, then they can build on that. What will their season look like? So the fact that they haven't probably got a lot of the players that they wanted to get, and then now they've obviously, you know, a potential of losing Isak, because ideally you think Eddie Howe would have wanted Isak and another striker because of Callum Wilson going. So I do feel for Newcastle fans, but yeah, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're just thinking, wow, I can't wait to watch my side next season if that happens. Yeah,
I mean, clearly, you know, his head's been turned. The champions have come in for him, Jamie. You know, the rest of the Newcastle team are out in Asia. He's been training at his old club in Spain, reported an injury, so couldn't go on the tour. How do you assess the way he's handling all this?
I think it's very hard, Jules, unless you're in his position. You know, I think it's very easy for the wider public and football fans to kind of criticise footballers. There's always the perception of there being an ideal way of leaving a football club, and it doesn't always pan out like that. And I think this is kind of a product of that. I think that he's probably not injured. As we know, it's probably a bit of a tactical one. I think my gauge on it is that I know 150 million is a lot of money, and I don't think it will quite get to that point. But I think Newcastle have set a bar of 150 million in the interim, knowing that they're not going to pay it, for them to try and source a couple of other decent strikers, and that's what it looks like is happening now. And I think if they can do that, I think they're going to probably meet somewhere in the middle with Liverpool, knowing that they've got a couple of people to come in. And I think there was talk of two, and I think Wissa might have been one as well. And if you get that, like Sue mentioned before, you did probably need two to compete. And I think at times Newcastle fell short when Isak was injured, that they didn't quite have that replacement. So for Newcastle fans, it might feel, you know, down in the dumps at the moment in terms of where the season might look. But you could spin it in a positive way and say you're going to get two players where we spoke about before, that if they can, I know then there might not be Isak, but together they could chip in and get to those kind of levels and keep them, you know, fighting at the top end of the league. So it could end up for a positive in the end for Newcastle.
Yeah, because it's so interesting, isn't it, the sort of mood around Newcastle, the positive end to last season, the trophy, the Champions League football again, and yet, you know, now they've struggled to bring players in the summer, it seems. Isak, their main man, could be going. But as Jamie says there, Clinton, Mbappe left PSG, they win the Champions League. Coutinho, for years ago, all Liverpool fans were panicking when he left, and it was actually the making of them. Could this be Newcastle's Coutinho moment?
Oh, I'm not sure.
If he goes.
See, it's a hard one because Isak's leaving, but Isak's, no disrespect to Newcastle. Newcastle's a big football club. He's going to a better football club, in my eyes, that have better players in Liverpool. So it's a great move for him. You can understand why he wants to go to Liverpool. But at the same point, I'm like what Sue and the lads have said. I feel sorry for Newcastle because you're right, they had a great season. In particular, Eddie Howe, who's done a fantastic job there. I do think Newcastle's recruitment can be better. They've signed Elanga, who I think will be a good signing. And obviously, we're hearing rumours they're interested in Sesko, who's a very good striker.
Bid's gone in for him.
Well, let me tell you, he's a good striker. But do we know if he can come to the Premier League and hit the ground running? That's what we're going to need to have a look at. But we see some of his goals. He can finish. He's got good, as I say, he scores all kinds of goals, but it's a different league to the Premier League. The Premier League's the best league, but he'd be a good signing. And Jamie made a good point. Wissa is a very good signing, if they can get him. I'm not, Brentford fans, don't shout at the TV. I'm not trying to sell your best players. I know you've lost Mbuemo, but if a club like Newcastle come knocking, not being disrespectful to Brentford, and can offer him Champions League football, as a player, that's what you want to do, play Champions League football. So those two signings, if Newcastle can get it, I know if they lose Isak, they're not Isak kind of replacements, but they brought two in, and they've still made money on him, so it could be good business for them. Yeah,
Wissa not involved, by the way, for Brentford in their pre-season game with QPR today, and we wait to see what happens with Sesko. A bid has gone in from Newcastle to RB Leipzig. He's not involved in their game today, just shy of £70 million, which is the sort of figure they were looking for. So that one could accelerate, and once Sesko's in the door, would that therefore open the door for Isak to move from Newcastle? They didn't win a Premier League game without him last season. Newcastle scored just one goal in those 4 matches he was missing as well. And it looks like he might be off. First bid rejected, though, by Newcastle yesterday. By the way,